Today I wanted to do an update on a wear test that I was doing for both the About Face foundation and the Natasha Denona and Fenty highlighters. I decided to combine both of these because, it didn't make sense for me to make videos on either of these exclusively, only because I don't have a ton to say about either product, which is surprising for me because I always feel like I have a lot to say about everything. But I just wanted to talk about this really quick because this went viral for being just a really solid formulation. I got mine in LM1 neutral. I think it has a very large shade range. This shade worked great for me. I was nervous because online this looked quite yellow, but it's not. It's very neutral. So I would say my biggest critique was online. I did not think they did a very good job showing the colors of any of them. But anyway, they say it has skincare ingredients. That means nothing to me. Makeup with skincare, if anything, I find it more problematic. I have skincare and I use my skincare for my skincare, and I just want my makeup to be makeup. But regardless, nothing in this bothered my skin, so that was a win. But wearing it a few days in a row now, I can definitely say that it's just not my favorite. I think the coverage is too light. I would say if you're somebody that has good skin to begin with and you only need a very light layer, this is fabulous. It is not drying and it leaves a nice finish. I guess the initial application, the finish reminded me a little bit of the NARS Light Reflecting, which that's one of my favorite foundations of all time. So that impressed me initially. However, as I wore it throughout the day, I did find that it wore off around my mouth quite significantly, and I always have dry patches, no matter what amount of skin prep or what foundation. My chin's gonna be dry by the end of the day. I felt like it was a little bit worse with this. So, if you have extremely dry skin, you might not love this. If you have combo to normal dry, like normal dry skin, you might love it. The first time I wore it, I tried to build it up. So I put it on in layers, and I always do first application with a brush, and then I go over it with a damp sponge to push it into the skin, just because I like that the most. I feel like for almost pretty much any foundation that I'm using, that works very well with. With this one, I felt like the sponge sort of removed product from areas that I was trying to conceal, like my chin. So when I built it up, I was able to get the coverage that I was hoping for, but it looked pretty terrible. I have some footage with both, the camera that I used to film with, that is the more flattering footage, and then I have some HD footage that is quite horrifying. What I will say about the HD footage though is it doesn't look nearly as bad in real life. Like to the human eye, and I have 20/20 vision, so I don't think I am misrepresenting myself when I see myself in the mirror. It looks much better in the mirror. So, I would keep that in mind. The footage, it's not nearly as bad as what it looks like. When I wore this thinned out, that was significantly better. However, I feel like it just didn't cover enough. You know, I like light medium. You know, my other Holy Grail foundation is the Chanel #1 foundation, and that's pretty light coverage, but it's more perfecting and it sits on the skin prettier. This to me is a foundation that is really meant for people with good skin. I know that I could spot conceal. What I did today was I used this foundation and then I used a good amount of under eye concealer, and then I went in and I spot concealed a little bit to sort of make up for what this didn't do for me. And while for some like skin tints and stuff that can work fine, I felt like for this it just didn't make up for how it sat on my skin over time. So I got this for like $12 because it's on sale. I think it's originally $22, and then it was on sale for $15, and then I was able to, at Ulta you can use your $3.50 coupon on top of that. So the price is unbeatable, and I think that compared to a lot of drugstore foundations, this is better. So I think for a huge amount of people, this is a really good investment. A $12 for a big bottle and great shade range. I do think that this is a really good foundation. I just think unfortunately it's not going to meet everybody's expectations, and I know for myself I'm not quite at the point where I know if I'm going to return it, but I don't look forward to wearing it, and that says a lot, unfortunately. Then I wanted to go ahead and talk about the new Natasha Denona, the Hygiene Skincare Infused Glow Beautifier. That's a mouthful. I got this in 01 Light. I think if I were to look at this as just a highlighter and nothing else, I don't hate it. I have a ton of swatches that I'm sure you can see better than this, but to me where this went wrong was when it was promoted as being in any way skincare or hydrating. This is not skincare, it's not hydrating. I guess maybe it's not drying, but I don't know that I have that problem with highlighters. Like, I have really dry skin, and I've never used one of my highlighters and been like, that dried my skin out. It's just, that's not something I necessarily need in a highlighter. I don't think it is as moisturizing as even the Charlotte Tilbury liquid highlighter. I think that that's more moisturizing than this. I think it's prettier than this. I think it melts into the skin more and it looks more natural than this. I did go ahead and try this as a primer. I don't have her serum-y primer thing to mix in with it. I don't have that, but I don't think you need that to get the effect. I will say when I used it under foundation, it was less horrifying than I expected. When I first put it on, it is Tin Man all the way. It accentuates all the things you don't want accentuated. But once I had my foundation on, it just was unnoticeable. I would say unremarkable. If you're looking for something like the Charlotte Tilbury Hollywood Filter, or the Auric Glow Lust, or any of the millions of dupes that they have now, I would say even there's primers. There's a ton of primer. The Victoria Beckham primer that has, kind of glitter, but whatever. It's more hydrating and more beneficial than this. This to me was not a primer, and it didn't really make my skin glow from within. It didn't do anything for me. So I didn't love it that way, and I didn't love it as a highlighter. Built up, it has a bit of a gray cast. You know, right now I have it on, this is my good cheek, even though it has the big scar. This is always the side of my face that I like better. But as you can see, it's taking over my blush, and that's not good. Granted, this is built up. I could put less of it, and then it does melt into the skin more. It looks more natural. I think used subtly, it's a fine highlighter. But once I got my hands on the Fenty, I got this in Pretty Pearls 01. To me, it's a very similar color. Swatched next to each other, you can see how similar it is. But this had less of a cast. So it's lighter, it's more natural, but see that the light's not on this side, so you can't, I don't know, I'll put video in. But I feel like when I first opened this, I just instantly liked it more. It just was, it stood out to me. And I felt like it stood out in my collection. I think the formula is gorgeous. It's so light and I don't know, it blends in. It's just really nice. Whereas this is thicker. The Natasha Denona has a thicker consistency and it makes it harder to use. It takes more effort for me to buff it into my skin than the Fenty, which is just, I grab and go. And I think because of that, I am probably going to return this. This is a $50 highlighter. I mean, this is a $40 highlighter. That's stupid too. But $50 for something that I don't love, I can't justify that, you know? I just, you know, together this is almost $100 on highlighter. It's not like I really even needed a highlighter. I just really was taken in by the new formulation. And I got a 20% off coupon. So I probably would have waited. I tend to wait on all new releases, no matter what, unless I get a coupon. You know, and if it's 20%, that's better than 15. You know, 15 is the normal that you can get. So the 20% is what pushed me over the edge to go ahead and pick it up. But I just don't love it. You know, I certainly don't hate it. I think it would be wrong for me to sit here and pretend it's awful. It's definitely not awful, but it's not something that I think stands out. You know, I have an Hourglass stick highlighter that to me is actually very similar, but I think that one leaves less of a cast. So I'm going to actually compare those two and put a picture in, because I think that's a highlighter that was so popular. I think a lot of people own that. I wouldn't recommend running out to get that one either. But, you know, these kind of highlighters, I think my favorite is probably the Charlotte Tilbury wand. And for powder highlighters, you know, I like how easy this is. It's one swipe and you're good, and it doesn't take much to buff it in and have that wet look, which is what I'm always going for, you know. Not to say that this is bad, but it's just more effort than it needs to be, and I don't know, the payoff just doesn't seem worth it to me. So these were two fails. Not horrible. I mean, makeup has gotten so good. It's rare that I come across something that is truly terrible, you know, which sucks because it's always fun to talk about something that was horrible. These are definitely not horrible. They're just not, they're not really right for me. So I thought, you know, I'd put my 2 cents out there, and I'll definitely put in the description a little bit more about my skin type. But that's it, just a quick video. You know, I was gonna overthink this and make it longer than it needed to be, but that's it. It's really that simple. They're just okay. So I hope that's helpful, and I hope everybody is having a beautiful week.